fighting to us, but we don't even want to talk to them. So that idea of rising above your human nature, and getting rid of that anger. Anger is a very dangerous emotion because it clouds your intellect. It clouds your ability to see reality. So it's very important for Muslims to be aware of that.
And the Prophet Muhammad warned us not to get angry in many instances. And
لا تغضب.
A qadi is not allowed to give any sort of ruling.
You can't rule if you're angry.
Yeah. I remember an incident at university where a Muslim colleague of mine came to me and mentioned two people and said, these people are kuffar. And he said, do you agree with me? And I said, I don't know who these people are. And he said, no, your iman is weak if you don't say they're kafirs. In fact, you are actually condoning, well,
there's a legal status. People, if somebody is not a Muslim, they have a legal status in which they don't inherit, et cetera, et cetera. But what people's reality is, that's why you can't say anybody's going to hell. That's one of the things Imam Al Tahawi makes very clear. You can't say who's in hell or who's not.
Well, we believe in alchemy as well, don't we? The ability to transform lead souls into gold. So
yeah, I mean as a metaphor.
As a metaphor, absolutely. The alchemy
is used as a metaphor. Yeah.
Absolutely. One of the things Imam Tahawi mentions in his book, he says that we do not dissent from the majority of Muslims.
Right.
Now, what's so special about the majority of Muslims, and how do we recognize something that is in the majority?
Yeah. Well, you have what's called the ijma'. And the ijma' in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he says, وَمِن يُشَاقِقَ الرُّسُولُ مِن بَعْدِ مَا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُ الْهُدَى وَيَتَّبِعْ غَيْرَ سَبِيلِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, that whoever splits from the messenger and after guidance is clear to him and follows other than the path of the believers. Imam Ash-Shafi'i said, I read the Quran 300 times looking for a proof of the ijma'. And then I finally found it in that verse, which is in Surah An-Nisa 115, I think. So that verse is a proof of the ijma', that وَيَتَّبِعْ غَيْرَ سَبِيلِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. He follows the other than the way of نُوَلِّهِ مَا تَوَلَّى. We'll leave him to himself. Right? I mean, that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. وَنُصْرِهِ جَهَنَّمْ. And he's roasted.
Straying from the
masira. So that, deviating. And the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man shadda fin-nar." Whoever deviates from the group deviates into the hellfire. So the jama'ah is the jama'at al-ulama. It's the rightly guided scholars that you follow. It's not the Muslims as a group, because the Muslims can do heinous things as groups. They can fall into group mentality and things like that. But the Prophet ﷺ said, "La tajtami' ummati 'ala ad-dalala." My ummah will never agree upon an error. So you'll never have all of the Muslims agreeing on something that is wrong. You can have a majority of them doing something that's wrong at any given time, but the ulama will never agree on an error. So the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is the majority of the scholars. That's why Imam Malik, when in the Muwatta, he said, "This is what I found the people doing." وَجَدْتُ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهِ. In the commentaries, they say the nas for Imam Malik meant the ulama, the scholars, because these are the khasa, and these are the ones that the amma, or the majority of people, are meant to follow. They take their spiritual and intellectual leadership from.
Sure. It's fairly evident that there's a lot of things, there's a lot of turbulence, there's a lot of pain and convulsion and chaos in the Muslim world. And often that reflects, people do get depressed when they see the news and they see the state of Muslims. I mean, what sort of advice, is any ray of hope for us?
Well, Hassan al-Basri said, if you want, you can see, in arata an tara basiran bila sabr ra'aytahu. If you want to see somebody who can see things clearly but doesn't have patience, you can see him. And he said, وَإِذَا أَرَدْتَ أَن تَرَى صَابِرًا بِلَا بَصِيرًا رَأَيْتَهُ. And if you want to see somebody who's patient without any understanding, you can find him. But he said, لَكِنْ صَابِرٌ بَصِيرٌ فَذَلِكَ. But to get somebody who has basira, an inner sight, an inner understanding, and patience together, he said, that's the real thing. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, that He makes a'imma from the people that الَّذِينَ صَبَرُوا وَكَانَ بِآيَاتِنَا يُوقِنُونَ, the people that have patience and have certainty, yaqeen. And one of the things that, one of my favorite du'as of the Prophet ﷺ is when he said, وَمِنَ الْيَقِينِ مَا تُهَوِّنُ بِهِ عَلَيْنَا مَصَائِبَ الدُّنْيَا. Give us enough certainty that will make the calamities of this world insignificant in our eyes. So when you have certainty, the calamities of the world become insignificant, because this is a very short period of time, the life of the dunya. كَلَمْحَ الْبَصَرِ. You know, it's just like a glance of the eye. And so if you get too caught up in the world and don't have that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you get depressed. You get, you know, and that's not to say, the Prophet ﷺ had periods where he was, you know, he felt grief. That's human. But when it becomes your state, you know, when it becomes the way you feel, no, something's not right, you know. And I'm not going to, I mean, there's obviously people that have physical problems, things like that. That's another thing. I'm talking about the general state. One of the things that I've found in my life is that when you're doing things for other people, that's the best Prozac that you can take. Do you know, if you want to deal with your depression, go out and serve the community. Yeah, that's the best thing that you can do. But when you're completely egocentric, when your life is revolving around yourself, you're going to be depressed. By just the very nature of the world, you're going to be depressed, I guarantee you. Just egocentric people. Nothing's going to satisfy you. And that's why you have to get outside of yourself. Our religion is theocentric. God is at the center of our existence and not ourselves. And so it's important to do that, to put things in their right priority. And if you want to know where you are with God, look to where God is with you. If God's your first priority, then you're a priority with God. I'm in the opinion of my servant.
Sheikh Hamza, jazakumullah khairan for your time, and we wish you well on your continuing journeys around the world. And that was a special interview with Sheikh Hamza Yusuf for the Islam channel. You can purchase his book, The Creed of Imam Al Tahawi, from all good bookstores, or you could go to www.rootsdistribution.co.uk. And for any viewers who are interested in reading the works or examining the works that Sheikh Hamza has been doing in the past, you can visit www.zaytuna.org. Assalamu alaikum.